Okay, today I'll be grading more NFL trades. So the first trade I'm going to be grading is the Dante Jackson, Deontay Johnson trade. So the Pittsburgh Steelers getting Dante Jackson and a 6th round pick, while the Panthers are getting Deontay Johnson and a 7th round pick. So starting from the Pittsburgh Steelers side, Dante Jackson, he's a solid, really athletic corner. He's really fast, but his play the last couple of years hasn't exactly been great. He's a solid starting cornerback, but that's about it. And they get a 6th round pick as well. While the Panthers, I like Deontay Johnson a lot. I know he's kind of became a head case for the Steelers the last year, but I think he's a reliable slot receiver that can catch those contested catches, that can be like a safety valve for Bryce Young. So I do understand the trade, especially for the Panthers. They need to get more wide receiver help. Um, I personally like. I think Deontay Johnson is a better wide receiver than Dante Jackson is as a cornerback, but the Pittsburgh Steelers do get a better pick than the Panthers do, so I'm gonna give the Steelers a B and the Panthers also a B. I think it's a pretty even trade while where both teams addressed both of their needs. And the next trade I'm going to be discussing is going to be the L'Jarius Sneed trade. So the Tennessee Titans get L'Jarius Sneed and a 7th round pick, to pick 252, while the Kansas City Chiefs get a 3rd round pick next year and a pick 221. First of all, the Titans, they're getting a really good cornerback or defensive back in L'Jarius Sneed. He's a very hands-on cornerback. She can shut down and blanket wide receivers, and he's also very good in the run game. And I also put his contract details because I don't think the trade goes through without that signing a contract. The contract definitely a little bit pricey, but not like overpriced to me. He's not like an overpriced cornerback. I do have a slight worry if L'Jarius Sneed doesn't adapt to like the new defensive scheme, that could be a really bad trade. But for now, L'Jarius Sneed a very good player, especially the little amount they had to give up. Kansas City Chiefs, I feel they could have gone way more than a 2025 3rd round pick for Snead. So not the greatest trade. I feel they could have gotten at least a second or a 2024 2nd round pick or 2024 3rd round pick. So to me, the Tennessee Titans getting a good player, and I'm gonna give them an A minus. While the Chiefs, they get only a C because I feel like they could have gotten a lot more trade compensation. And the next trade is going to be the New York Jets getting Hassan Reddick and the Philadelphia Eagles getting a 2026 3rd round pick. So Hassan Reddick, probably a replacement for Bryce Huff. Very effective pass rusher. He's had like over 10 sacks for the last few years now. Not the greatest run blocker, and I feel like that's what got him traded. He's not a very enthusiastic run blocker, but he's always effective as a pass blocker. And like I said, fills a big hole that was left when Bryce Huff signed with the Eagles. It's only 1 year he only has 1 year left on his contract, and personally, I'm not a fan of trading for a player that only has 1 year left on his contract because after the year's over, if they walk away, you only get 1 year service. On the Eagles side, they only got a 2026 3rd round pick. That's really far away. I won't ding them too much because Hassan Reddick requested a trade, and the Eagles needed to get more cap space since they already signed Bryce Huff. So I get the trade for Eagles. I feel like they could have at least gotten a 2025 3rd round pick. But to me, the Jets are getting a player that they at a position of need and a player that's still very effective. So I'm gonna give them an A. While the Eagles, they got something for Reddick, who's starting to get a little bit old, and they already have his replacement. So I'm gonna give him a B minus. Then the most recent trade is gonna be the Houston Texans getting Stephon Diggs, a 6th round pick, and 2025 5th round pick, while the Bills getting a 2025 2nd round pick in return for Stephon Diggs. To me, I think this is a great trade for Stephon Diggs. Um, they only gave up a 2025 2nd round pick, but and in return they still got a 6th and a 5th. Stephon Diggs still a very effective um, wide receiver, but there are concerns with him, especially his character and the disappearing act he did in the last second half. And like I said for the previous trade, I'm not a huge fan of 1 year rentals, especially if Diggs is like 30 years old now. And if he balls out next year, Texans are gonna give him a big contract, and I don't like that. And if he doesn't do good, that's a wasted 2nd round pick. While the Bills, similar to the Eagles, I get the trade. The Stephon Diggs hasn't been happy for the last couple of seasons. Like similar to Son Reddick, I feel like they could have gotten like more for him other than a 2nd round pick next year. But the Bills were in cap hell, and and this clears up future cap space, although doesn't do much to their cap room this year. So for the Houston Texans, for getting a good wide receiver, but a receiver that only has 1 year left on his contract and isn't exactly a position of need, I'm only going to give it a B plus. While the Bills, they only get a second round pick, but they needed to trade the Stephon Diggs, and it frees up cap for future investments. So I'm gonna give them a B. So there you have it, grading NFL trades.